Right. Thank you so much, Heather. Thanks for having me. And thanks to the four of you who are here and hopefully more people watching online later. I'm going to talk to y'all today about a class that I'm currently teaching. So with the delayed semester start here at Acadia this year, we're only in week 3. So this is very much a work in progress sort of situation. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I chose to teach this class as a Maple League class. And then I'll tell you how it's structured, what we're working on, and hopefully we can have a good conversation based on it. But at any point, like I have the chat open and I will share my screen every once in a while, but I'm happy to also circulate like syllabus and things like that if people are interested rather than just showing you my syllabus and kind of reading through it because that has a real like first day of class vibe, which I'm not going for. So yeah, you at any point just throw questions in the chat or let me know. And if you want to turn your cameras on, I'm happy to see actual faces. So I'm not just, doing what we've all done too much of, which is just staring and talking into the empty void. So a little bit of background and why I'm teaching a Maple League course. I just started at Acadia in 2019. In July 1st, 2019 was the first, was when I began. Prior to that, I was at the University of Hawaii, but only for 8 months. Before that, I had two positions at Mount Allison University. So I was there as the Craik Doctoral Fellow in the Classics Department, and then I was there again as a visiting assistant professor, also in the Classics Department, of course. I'm an archaeologist. I work in southern Greece. This is what we're going to talk about today. Sparta is located in southern Greece. I'll talk a little bit more about the course subject and why I chose it shortly. But so I went from Mount Allison with a small, happy, nice, warm, sunny interlude in Hawaii to Acadia. So I was really familiar with these two Maple League institutions. And on a more personal note, because of the timeline, the students that I taught at Mount Allison are graduating this year. So I actually had this unique opportunity to teach some of the students that I had in first year at Mount Allison one more time before they graduated through the Maple League. So I was super excited about all of this. I've stayed in touch with them. I was invited to give a guest lecture at Mount Allison on March 13th. And I went, and my husband and daughter and I went to Mount Allison on March 13th, and we were all standing around, a distance from each other because we weren't sure what was happening in the world as we all got the texts and emails from our universities that everything was shutting down. So it was wild. So I was with these students when this all happened. So flash forward to summer and fall of 2020. I was slotted to teach an intro to archaeology course this past fall. That course was new for me, and I was planning on using the STEAM space here at Acadia. It was going to be an intro level course, but it was going to be very small, very hands-on, and have a lab section. And so I was redesigning this from a previous intro to archaeology course that I taught that was a massive lecture course. And I really thought to myself, I don't need to do this right now. Like, I do not need to design a brand new course for an online learning environment that won't always have an online component. The whole point of that class was to be small and in a lab space. And so we took it off the books, initially thinking maybe winter 2021, but obviously not. So that meant I needed to fill something in winter 2021, and we came up with this idea of doing a special topics course through the Maple League, so that I could fulfill this dream of teaching these students one last time and teaching a topic that was really tailored to my own research interests to a small group of advanced undergraduate students. The course logistics were a little bit tricky, and if we're going to talk about welcome to my classroom and all of the messy aspects of it, I will tell you it was not a smooth process. It was not a smooth process at all figuring out how to do a Maple League course. The submission and approval of the course itself, super easy. I just wrote the submission, submitted it by the deadline. They got back to me very quickly and said, yeah, your course is approved. It was wonderful. At that point, things sort of fell apart logistically. from an organizational point of view because no one was really sure what to do next. I took the initiative, contacted my friends and colleagues at Bishops and Mount Allison and said, hey, I'm offering this class. Here's a poster. Please feel free to share with your students. And I said, it's going to be an upper year seminar style course. Please share with your advanced students, right? Third and fourth year, classics majors or classics minors if they, if they can handle it. So I'm going to show you what the larger ad looked like. I sent them an abridged version, but I'll show you what the larger ad looked like. So you can look at some pictures. You can read the description as I'm telling you about. There's just some fun stuff on here. It's good to see or bad to see. I don't know, So I contacted our classics majors here at Acadia. Here at Acadia, we set the registration to 0 so that students couldn't enroll themselves because at the other Maple League universities, students couldn't enroll themselves, right? They had to go through the registrar. So we thought from a personal point of view, this would be good to kind of keep it this way across the board. It was also a really good way for me to know who was interested in the class. They had to ask for permission, and I'd say, like, what year are you? What's your major? If they were a classics minor and not a major, there's no way of knowing here at Acadia what minors people are officially. There's no way of knowing. And so it was good. At the beginning, I had interest from 3 great students here at Acadia. We manually registered them all into the course, and we were good to go. I had right off the bat 3 advanced students, 2 of whom I taught at Mount Allison. 3 advanced students from Mount Allison, 2 of whom I taught when I was there, who asked if they could be enrolled in the course. And I said yes, but I had no idea how to get them into the course. And so began a 2-month, very rocky journey of trying to get these students into the course. It involved several emails back and forth between various department members, admin assistants, the registrar's office, me and the students in the registrar's office. It was messy. It was not a pleasant experience. And the difficult part I found especially was I had no idea at any point if there were other students who were interested in the course beyond the 3 who had contacted me, right? Because from a registrar / Maple League point of view, students registered for the course by submitting a form to their respective registrars. And if they meet the qualifications as outlined in the ad, then they're put into the class. Which was tough because I didn't want a massive class. I didn't want 20 students. And I know that's not massive, but I wanted it to be seminar style. So I didn't want a large number of students. I wanted to cap it at maybe 12. And the other aspect of this was we never actually confirmed whether students at Bishops were able to see this course being advertised because it didn't have a classics course code. And so there were definitely advertising issues. On the first day of class, the 3 students who expressed interest had been manually placed into the class, which was great. They showed up on my Acadia Central sort of class list, which was excellent. But had I not known them, it would have been really difficult to start off on the right foot because I gave them tasks before the class even started. And I will talk about what those were and how that rolled into the goals for this course. But I'd also, unfortunately, had requests from students after the class had started who maybe hadn't seen it beforehand. And because of the delay of going through the registrar's office before being put into the class and the processing delay that comes along with this, 2 weeks of the class had passed before I got a request from the registrar's office as to whether 2 other Mount Allison students could be enrolled. And I had to say no, and I would have happily had 8 students in the class instead of 6, but I had to say no because it's a once a week 3-hour seminar. And so they'd missed 6 hours of the class by then. And we simply covered too much material for it to be realistic that they'd be able to catch up. So that was really rocky. We started off, it was tough, but we are 3 weeks in and things are going absolutely wonderfully. It's been so much fun. So I'll actually tell you about some good things now. So let's forget all about that. Now I know, at least in the future, what I would do differently. And I'm very happy to chat about that as well, because I think we need as much transparency as possible on these. If we want the Maple League and Maple League courses to succeed, we all need to be talking about not just the wonderful things, and there are a lot of wonderful things, but we need to be talking about what doesn't work as well. So the class is called, of course, This is Sparta. You have to have that. You can't not have a class on ancient Sparta without This is Sparta in the title. And it's on, as you can see from the screen here, the ancient city and modern identity. So I work in southern Greece. I don't work on Sparta. I work in a tiny little peninsula south of Sparta. It's called the Mani Peninsula. And that's where I do my field work. This is what my dissertation was based on. This is my primary area of research. I work on material culture, ceramics, cultural identity, the landscape, monuments, travelers to the area. I basically am all about Mani all the time. How does Sparta tie in? Well, this tiny little peninsula that is very difficult to access and is strikingly beautiful, yet extremely arid and remote and difficult to subsist on, is home to a notoriously tough group of people. They've been considered notoriously tough throughout history. And they have been variously identified as the true descendants of the ancient Spartans. Part of this is because of their fame, let's say, for resisting Ottoman Turkish occupation in the peninsula, and also for being really where the Greek War of Independence began. And they're very, very proud of this heritage. And so their notorious toughness also extends to intergenerational feuds that occurred in the Mani Peninsula. And this is one of the pictures that I have behind me in my sad little makeshift office here, which is also my actual guest bedroom, is a picture of one of these ruined tower towns. And so just really, really brutal, gruesome intergenerational feuds would happen there throughout the Mani Peninsula in these tower villages, which contributed to these ideas of their identity as being really, really tough warriors, and again, the descendants of the ancient Spartans. So some of my research, I had a piece come out last year in Thirst Cities, which is a journal on identity studies. I had a piece come out last year exploring the origins of this claim that they were, in fact, the descendants of the ancient Spartans. And there's a lot of study, there's a lot of examination of the ancient world that involves some not so great aspects of humanity, like eugenics, like white supremacy, like racism, and the Spartans are often directly tied to the people who hold up those unfortunate values. And so you can see, even in the advertisement for this class, we've got everything from maybe less offensive depictions of the ancient Spartans, like here's King Leonidas from the movie 300, right? This is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is a statue of Leonidas in the modern city of Sparta. But then, of course, on the right, these were rioters in the recent capital insurrection down here with a Spartan-style or Greek-style helmet on. This is from an article called The Modern Sparta Fetish is a Cultural Cancer. And this is a former neo-Nazi rioter whose alias was the based Spartan. And so this is a really, really prominent part of what's happening in the world right now. And so I wanted students to have the ability to kind of explore this, not just focus on the ancient city, but really sort of pick apart aspects of the ancient city that especially modern fascist and neo-Nazi groups hone in on, and things that they are really obsessed with. Everything from their military procedures, the way that boys were raised, their athletic training programs, their austerity measures, and how much of any of this is actually true, or how much of any of this we can ever know to be true. And so every week we look at ancient sources, we look at modern scholarship for ancient Sparta, and then we read kind of a modern piece, whether it's a podcast or a blog post or an op-ed about how this is reflected in the world around us. So that's kind of the structure of the class. I'll stop sharing my screen. So yeah, oh, I'm seeing all the chat now. Oh, thanks everyone. This is so nice to see. So the structure of the class is very much, I really am trying to emulate like an in-person seminar. And the nice thing about this being a Maple League class is that we'd be partially online regardless of COVID, right? Because we have students from Acadia and students from Mount Allison. Hopefully in future years, future iterations of this class, we'll have bishops and maybe even St. FX students, even though St. FX doesn't have a classics department per se. But yeah, we log in, we all turn our cameras on, there's no recording. We spend the first 10 minutes, it's 9 a.m. So we spend the first 10 minutes like chatting, saying something interesting that happened about our week, like just saying hi, having coffee together. And then we dive into whatever the material is. So I'm happy to share the syllabus. Maybe I can just share it quickly and kind of show you some of the topics that we're going to be talking about or that we have talked about. Hopefully I don't have anything else open on Microsoft Word. I just realized as I'm sharing Microsoft Word here. Okay, so like I said, I'm happy to share this with anybody who wants to see it. There's a COVID statement, of course, a course description, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very long syllabuses. I'm notorious for this, but anyhow, okay. So introduction, I had them watch a documentary. We talked about what modern Sparta even looks like because we were chatting about this before the session began, but most people don't go to Sparta. Most people who visit Greece don't happen to go to Sparta. And there's a reason for that. There's not a whole lot of archaeological remains that have been uncovered. One of our ancient historians, Thucydides, famously said, like, you'd never know about the greatness of the Spartans based on the ruins, based on their monuments, because there just simply are not very many, especially compared to Athens. And boy was he right. So we talked about studying Sparta, the sources, approaches, problems, the Spartan mirage, which is the fact that a lot of people from antiquity to today are absolutely obsessed with Sparta, for better or for worse. You either hate Sparta or you love Sparta. That includes the ancient Athenians, that includes the ancient Romans, that includes people throughout the medieval period who are calling the Maniots, the people from Mani, the real descendants of the ancient Spartans. This includes, the movements of neoclassicism and Philhellenism in Europe. Of course, this includes Nazi Germany. This includes fascist movements today. So we want to talk about the Spartan mirage. We have all of these writings about Sparta, but not a whole lot from Sparta itself and this modern obsession. We talk about mythohistory and archaeology. What do our different sources tell us? And you can see here we're talking about Bronze Age Greeks inspire violent white masculinity. And in future weeks, we actually have a couple of guest lectures coming up, all of whom I'm going to be giving honoraria to because I think it's important to pay people for their labor, and also because 3 of my guest speakers are graduate students. I want to show my students what the next generation of Sparta scholars looks like, and the kind of work they're doing, but also pay them for their time, which I think is really, really important. So we're going to be talking about Lycurgus. Luke Madsen from Rutgers University is going to be talking about his work on the black broth, the notorious austere dish that the Spartans were supposed to have enjoyed. Enjoyed is the wrong word there because it does not sound enjoyable. The Persian Wars and Beyond, Molon Labe, the phrase that was supposedly spoken by Leonidas in the face of Thermopylae and Xerxes saying, lay down your weapons, and Leonidas responds, come and take them. Molon Labe has been reappropriated by pro-Second Amendment groups, right, who are protecting their right to bear arms. So they have appropriated the phrase Molon Labe, come and take them. Interestingly, as a flip side to this, there's also an awesome uh, pro-choice group in Texas that has flipped this on its head and taken their the Molon Labe logo saying to a new extreme, and have pictures of uteruses on their T-shirts and it says Molon Labe, which I think is excellent. So we have Matt Sears, who's going to be talking about war monuments both in antiquity and today. We'll talk about the heliotage system, so the fact that Sparta existed Sparta was a society built on enslaved people, and we will not be watching the movie 300, but we will be reading the graphic novel 3 that tells a different version of these events from a helot's point of view. And we'll be talking about Spartan women and gender roles, and we have 2 women who will be coming to talk to us, both scholars of ancient Sparta. They'll be talking about modern white supremacy, the modern Spartan man, and how gender roles have directly influenced this obsession with ancient Sparta. We'll be talking about education, so paideia, the agoge, the crypteia, pederasty, all of these sorts of things. The rest of the semester gets a little bit sort of looser because the students will be doing their presentations, and I'll talk about what they're doing. But we end the semester talking about Sparta in modern Europe in the 20th and 21st century. So here they're going to be reading the Money article, as well as the reception of Sparta in Germany. And then sort of recapping, because throughout we're talking a lot about North America and Sparta's role in North America. And so we'll end on that. Now, obviously, you can see all this red at the side here, and that's the other aspect of this class, which is the Wikipedia assignment. So I'll stop sharing. I'll ask at that point, does anybody have questions about like the structure of the class or topics covered before I dive into the Wikipedia assignment, also so that I can water. Let me look in the chat. Oh yeah, that's a great question. The more guest speakers through virtual. TBD to see whether the honoraria comes from departmental budget. I have submitted a request. I think it probably will. But I said that even if the department for whatever reason couldn't, I mean, I know money is tight in all of our institutions because, it's been tough, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic, and if there isn't these kinds of funds, I just committed that I would pay them honoraria, especially the graduate students, because I'm not going to the field this year, so I do have some money I can play around with a little bit in terms of research and in terms of how I'd like to spend that money, and I think it's a worthy cause. But yes, I'm all about, paying people for their labor. All right, I'm gonna have a sip of water and then I'll continue. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about, because I'm not going to talk for the whole hour because nobody wants that, but we can just kind of have a conversation afterwards, is the Wikipedia assignment. So I'm big into the digital humanities. I really like public-facing scholarship. I really think that what we do as scholars should really have a clear and lasting effect on knowledge and knowledge that is publicly accessible. This is sort of what I really fundamentally believe in. I run a podcast and a part of a larger project called Peopling the Past that is based on bringing research about real people in the ancient world by the real people who study them to the general public. So there's a video series. I run the podcast. Lana, who's here as one of the audience members and who gave one of these talks last semester, was a guest on the podcast talking about her research. It's wonderful, and we really try to highlight, again, real people, but specifically non-tenured white men. That is sort of that's our exclusion. I mean, I know they're real people, but we're trying to highlight sort of a broader spectrum of who's contributing knowledge. And as part of one of the public-facing scholarship initiatives that I do, I work a lot with Wikipedia. So I underwent a Wikipedia scholar training program a couple of years ago on the topic of women's suffrage, which is in no way related to anything that I do. But I thought it would be good to learn. And I edited some Wikipedia articles. I created some Wikipedia articles. I really liked it. But as a then contingent scholar, I realized that editing Wikipedia was probably not going to be the thing on my CV that ever got me a job. And so I kind of wrestled with how I would continue to do something that I thought was very worthwhile. And I realized that Wiki Education, which is the program that runs the Wiki Scholar initiative, also has really, really wonderful programs for the classroom. And so since winter 2019, yeah, I took the class in the fall of 2018. I've incorporated it into 4 classes. So I've done World Mythology to 1500, Classical Greece, State and Society, Rome, Republic and Empire, and now this class I've incorporated Wikipedia assignments into. And in the other 3 courses, students, picked their topic. They worked on these pages for the entirety of the semester. I'm happy to answer questions about these because there's always questions about the Wikipedia assignment. And they really they did their own thing. They got to choose something that they really were interested in for their research project. It improves writing skills because you have to learn how to research and write in a neutral, unbiased, professional way. It has impact, right? Real people out there are seeing the work that they're doing, and there's accountability, right? Not only the fact that this is available for anybody to read, but because it's a semester-long project, we undergo several rounds of peer review, and I'm seeing everything they do. They're getting feedback from me for the entire semester, rather than an essay, which I also have strong feelings about. I don't love an essay, where students often write it the last minute. They write it once, the professor reads it once, and nobody ever looks at the comments or thinks about it again. So all of those were great. I really loved all of incorporating those Wikipedia assignments, but I wanted this one to be different because it was seminar style. So one of the things that we're doing, in addition to each of them choosing a page that they will either create or improve, a topic of their choice, every week we are also collectively as a group taking information from the readings that we're doing and improving the Wikipedia page on Sparta. The Sparta Wikipedia page is, actually I can show you. Right, I can share my screen here. Let me do this. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I have to actually share it with you, right? That would help. Firefox. Okay, so you should be seeing my Wikipedia, not my Wikipedia page, the Sparta Wikipedia page here. So there's a bunch of different sort of ways to evaluate pages on Wikipedia, but anybody can do this. You do not have to be logged into Wikipedia. If you go to the talk page, you can see what the page is rated. So how complete is it? This is a completeness rating. This is a quality rating. And the lowest is stub class. Then you go start class. Then there's B class. Sorry. Oh boy, letters, hey? C class, then B class, then a good article, then a featured article. Again, I'm happy to share. There's links to all of this. This is all on Wikipedia. I'm happy to share this. But so you can see that this is only a B class article, right? So it's not terrible, but there's lots of room for improvement. And it is a top importance page. It is one of the top 100 most popular pages of relevance to the Wiki project, Classical Greece and Rome, right? This is an incredibly popular topic, an incredibly popular page. And so I didn't think that this was an appropriate page for any one student to tackle on their own. I usually recommend that students tackle start class pages because if you're a first-time Wikipedia editor, you want to work on something that needs a lot of help and that is easy to improve. The better a page is, the harder it is to improve, of course. But I thought that this would be a really good project for us to work on together. One interesting thing about the Sparta page, I think it'll go if I go to article. Sorry, I have to get my speech box out of the way here. If I go to edit, I believe, will I get my little warning or will I not? Yes, okay. So note, this page is semi-protected so that only auto-confirmed users can edit it. The reason for this, as you can imagine, there are lots of trolls on Wikipedia and there are a lot of bots, right? Auto-generated bots on Wikipedia that just insert hate speech. of any way, shape, or form of any kind into pages, and Sparta is ripe for that kind of language to be inserted. A lot of Wikipedia pages have really great monitoring and things will be automatically reverted, but I suspect that semi-protected pages get so much of this that they don't allow for anonymous users, and you must be auto-confirmed. I think it means that you need to have like 10 edits and have to have been a user for longer than like a week. So it's a low bar, but it is a different kind of page than other pages that one might edit. Anyway, so I can show you, what am I going to show you? I'm going to show you what we did this past week. So if you go to view history, you can see BECANB, EKJ, oh my goodness, letters again, hey? EKG machine and Cam Sarah 99 are all students in the class. And you can see this is all on the 3rd of February. These are all edits that we did together as a class. So we took one of the readings, both of our readings, sorry, divided into 2 groups. I threw them in breakout rooms. And one group decided on a sentence that they were going to add for the archaeology section. You can see here, add a sentence about domestic archaeology. And the other group added a sentence about Spartan's mythical connection to Heracles. And you can see, if you want to compare the selected revisions, you can actually see, oh, that was me fixing a typo, the previous edit to that. There you go. This is the sentence that they added. Tyrtaeus, an archaic era Spartan writer, is the earliest source to connect the origin myth of the Spartans to the lineage of the hero Heracles. Later authors such as Diodorus Siculus, Herodotus, and Apollodorus also made mention of Spartans understanding themselves to be descendants of Heracles. And they cited not only the source that we were reading, which is Nigel Kennel, but they cited some primary sources as well. And so we're going to be doing this every week, which is super exciting, and hopefully improving the Sparta page in general. The last thing I'm going to show you is what the Wiki Education dashboard looks like. So when you sign up, it's auto-generated based on data you input. So how long is the course? What trainings do you want? You go to the timeline. And there's trainings, like I said, they click through, they answer some questions, they do some drills, they learn about the structure of Wikipedia, milestone, everyone has a Wikipedia account. We collectively evaluated the Sparta article together, and then they went off and evaluated articles that they were interested in. Then they add citations, they add a sentence to an article, they copy edit an article, they choose an article, they create drafts of their contributions, and they work on this throughout the semester so that by the end, they've got like this really comprehensive full contribution to Wikipedia that hopefully lots of people will see. I'm not going to go to the student page because I'm logged in, so it'll show what their names are, which I don't want to do because I've ensured them that beyond their username, they can retain anonymity. And obviously I'm recording, so I don't want to show you what the names are that are associated to it. But I will show you that if you go to articles, I have, so these are the ones that we've actually edited so far as a class. But if you go to available articles, these are suggestions that I've given the students. And you can see here on the side, stub, start, stub. Like these are all really articles that need a lot of improvement. Let's use that terminology. And so is mostly ancient stuff, but also Battle of Thermopylae and popular culture, right? There's the reception aspect of it as well. So there's Sparta and popular culture. Yeah, so that's what we're working on, and hopefully if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I love talking about Wikipedia. I love this assignment. I think it's lots of fun, but yeah, hopefully I can update everyone or at least send links around or something and let you know like what our total contributions were at the end of the class and how the articles hopefully were improved.